January 16, 1990. Three men blazed their own trail into snowmobiling history. Grigory Shulik, a member of the Soviet Snowmobiling and Motorcycling Club, was invited by Scott Eilertson and Lee Bussey to join them on a historic trail ride between two continents. All three made the long, challenging expedition from Minnesota to Moscow. The trip itself took years of planning before becoming a reality, and it all started as one man's vision.
It was kind of my dream for the last 10 years to be the first man to ever, as much as possible, to snowmobile around the world, traveling over as much land as possible. And I used to tell this to a lot of my friends and everything, but Lee Bussey here, who I worked with at the time, was the first man to ever take me serious on the idea. So he says, well, why not? He says, let's try it. So for 3 years, we've been writing letters and to everyone we could think of, and it took 2 years to get permission to do it. And the last year has been very hectic in doing the final preparations of all the stops and the whole itinerary and all the logistics. It's just been overwhelming, but we've had great support from our sponsors, Arctic and 3M, and we're having a ball.
On this trip, what to pack became a major challenge. From freezing temperatures to bitter winds, an unpredictable Mother Nature made this a critical part of the planning.
We've got the large packs on the back. We've got a tank bag, and then we've got the windshield bag. We've got our sleeping bags in our tent and our first aid kit for emergencies, and we pack a lot of extra sweaters.
When you're looking at a 5,000-mile trip, choosing the right sled is important. Fortunately, the only hard part about Scott's decision was figuring out which Arctic Cat to ride.
Well, a lot of people thought we would take a Wildcat or an EXT or Prowler, but we needed something that was very, very economical to run. Very economical to run, good on mileage, very easy to maintain along the way, and it has plenty of power for what we want to do. And with the long track version, we have enough storage space to carry everything we need for the entire 2 months of the trip. So we're totally self-supportive on the sleds. And like I say, you can't beat the durability of these machines. They handle on the trail just like a Prowler, it seems.
For Grigory Shulik, his first visit to the United States proved that there were not only many cultural differences between the two countries, but a few mechanical ones as well.
Your snowmobiles are a little faster, and it's good machine.
Miss USSR Yulia Sukhanova translated one more difference.
In Russian, snowmobile is снегоход. Снегоход.
The trip covered territory never before united by a single ride. From the trails of the northern United States to the frozen landscapes of Russia, the itinerary was carefully planned.
Our route started in White Bear Lake. We've ended up here. From here, we'll go up across Sault Ste. Marie. Then we'll go across Ontario and Quebec. Then we'll get on to New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, into Auburn, Maine. Then we go to New York. From there, we'll fly across to Helsinki, Finland. From Helsinki, Finland, we ride to the border. It takes us about 3 days. Once we're at the border, we'll go into Leningrad, then Moscow, hitting some other small towns. From Moscow, we go to Ufa, and then we go to Novosibirsk in Siberia.
Leaving Minnesota, the expedition next hit the trails of Wisconsin. Along the way, they experienced a couple of things that would remain constant throughout their journey. First, the great support of Arctic Cat dealers and snowmobilers throughout the United States. And secondly, the challenge of having to face a barrage of TV and newspaper reporters along the way.
Also on hand, St. Paul's new mayor, Jim Scheibel. Hundreds of balloons were released, and all the time, more people gathering. And finally, the moment.
Well, Scott and Lee, congratulations to you. We sure welcome you and hope you have a good time here in the Phillips and Price County area.
While they averaged 175 miles a day through Wisconsin, Michigan, and into Canada, not all their time was spent on the JAG AFS long tracks. A steady diet of banquets, autograph sessions, and other events were set up by cat dealers along the way. At each stop, they had a chance to meet with snowmobile enthusiasts, curious townspeople, and hundreds of well-wishers. Fortunately, Scott, Lee, and Grigory were always ready with a smile. 3,000 miles later, Skowhegan, Maine marked the end of the U.S. side of the expedition. From there, the trio flew to Helsinki, Finland to begin the journey through Russia. One of the first things they noticed crossing the border was a difference in machines. As they worked their way through Russia, the people never missed a chance to check out the cats as well as demonstrate a machine or two of their own. From Leningrad to Kalinin, the ride was cold and challenging, but the people were warm and friendly. As Scott, Lee, and Grigory traveled from city to village, they were welcomed with open arms and the traditional greeting of bread and salt. Next stop, Moscow's Red Square, for a chance to see a famous piece of Russian history in person. Of course, it was also a chance for Russians to get a look at three snowmobilers who were making a little world history themselves. 250 miles east of Moscow in the town of Ufa, the Arctic Cats were really put to the test. Here, Scott and Lee competed against Russian sleds in a motocross event. In heat after heat, the 440cc Cats had little trouble with their Russian counterparts, easily taking care of a Soviet prototype 650. Even after a tough day of racing, Scott and Lee proved to be gracious winners. After a stay in Ufa, they embarked on the final leg of the trip, the 400-mile ride to Novosibirsk, and then the task of getting ready for the trip home. In just 3 months, Scott, Lee, and Grigory had logged over 5,000 miles across 2 continents and over all kinds of terrain. But long after the exhausting schedule was over and the aching muscles disappeared, it was a trip that proved to be more than just a story of men and machines. It was an event that showed everyone the joy of snowmobiling, and perhaps even more importantly, brought people from different sides of the world a little closer together.